This ordinary, unremarkable road is the Old Kent Road. It's the joint worst property on the Monopoly Board, and the only one from south of the river. But despite its drab appearance today, it has a long history, dating back to pre-Roman times. And hard as it is to believe now, this junction, where a Vietnamese restaurant sits today, was at the heart of it. The best place to learn about that history lies a little further south, in this boxy 1960s building that's currently earmarked for demolition. Approach the building more closely and it reveals its treasure, a large mosaic by the Polish artist Adam Kozowski, showing key scenes from the Old Kent Road's past. It starts with the Romans. Old Kent Road forms part of what was once called Watling Street, one of the major Roman roads in Britain, although it's even older than that. When the Romans arrived in Britain in 43 AD and made their way up to London, this is the route they would have used. The next panel moves forward in time to the medieval period, with a scene from Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Kent Street, as it would have been called then, is on the route of the famous pilgrimage, from Southwark Cathedral in London to Canterbury Cathedral in Kent. When Thomas Becket, the Archbishop of Canterbury, was murdered in 1170, he became a saint and martyr, and the faithful would make the pilgrimage to his shrine. The Vietnamese restaurant at the busy junction used to be a pub named in honour of Thomas Becket. Although the building's more recent, an inn used to stand near here at the border of London and Kent, next to a bridge over a river called the Earl's Sluice. Both are gone now, but you can see the river in this map from 1761, surrounded by fields and market gardens, and the bridge on the mosaic. Pilgrims would stop to rest here and water their horses in the river, which led to this place being known as St. Thomas a-Watering. And off we rode at slightly faster pace than walking to St. Thomas watering place. In 1415, King Henry V and his army rode up Kent Street as they returned from their victory at the Battle of Agincourt and met with the clergy of London at St. Thomas a-Watering. But it wasn't only pilgrims and kings who travelled this way. 35 years later, Jack Cade led the men of Kent in a march on London to protest abuses of power. The rebellion ended unsuccessfully. Cade was beheaded, and this detail shows some of the rebels being hanged. Public executions also happened at St. Thomas a-Watering. The 16th century preacher John Penry was hanged for treason here. And as this was a major thoroughfare to London, the bodies of traitors would have been left to rot in gibbets by the side of the road as a lesson to all who would challenge power. In the 17th century, Charles II returned from exile in Europe, riding up from Dover along Watling Street to enter London via Kent Street on his way to claim the crown. In the 18th century, the Kent Road, as it was now known, became a fairly well-to-do place with many Georgian mansions of housing, of which very little survives today. Everything changed with the coming of the Industrial Age in the 19th and 20th centuries. Old Kent Road, as it was known by now, was transformed by the arrival of the canal, omnibus, tram, railway and gasworks. In the space of around 50 years the river was built over, the fields and gardens covered by factories, infrastructure and housing. The area began its decline, which was accelerated by heavy bomb damage during the Blitz. Each of these miniature houses in nearby Burgess Park represents a life lost in the bombing. Burgess Park is itself a sign of yet another transformation of the area. It was created in the 1950s by clearing bomb-damaged houses and disused factories. At the corner of the park, near the busy junction, is a lake, filled by water from the underground Earl's Sluice, just 100 metres or so from the site of the old St. Thomas a-Watering, an echo of history.